It reflects, as Vox put it, an act of class warfare by the rich against the poor. Republicans can no longer ignore the basic facts of what their bill would do. According to the CBO, 24 million Americans would lose coverage by 2026. That's roughly the combined population of Alabama, Colorado, Kentucky, Missouri, and Utah. The bill cuts Medicaid, the health care program to benefit the poor and those just above poverty, by $880 billion, about 25%, while putting in place an $883 billion tax cut that mostly overwhelmingly benefits the wealthy. It's basically the legislative equivalent of Robin Hood, but in reverse, taking from the poor, giving to the rich. You know who gets the worst off? Older, poorer, rural Americans, the very people who put Trump in the Oval Office. Last night, we aired our town hall from McDowell County, the poorest county in West Virginia, a poor state, where 75% of voters cast ballots for Trump. And watch what happened when I asked how many people depend on Medicaid. How many people in the room are either on Medicaid or someone they know or love is on Medicaid? Raise your hand.
Someone we know or love, absolutely.
Nearly every hand in that room went up. 50% of the people in the county are on Medicaid. Now, many of the people who depend on Medicaid, who in some cases would literally die without it, are Trump voters. People like Philip Lucian, a coal miner who only recently found a job in the mines.
I've been underground for 10 years and then got laid off, had to take a secondary job. It doesn't pay, doesn't have hospitalization or nothing. Now I have all that again, and I just hope that it lasts so I can take care of me and my family.
The impact on poor, lower working class Americans of this bill is just staggering. It would make it virtually impossible for, say, a 64-year-old making just under $27,000 per year to get coverage. Her premium would rise from $1,700 per year under Obamacare to more than $14,000 per year on the GOP plan. That is not an error. That's more than half her salary. This reality speaks to why the White House, while ostensibly backing the bill, doesn't seem particularly excited about it being called TrumpCare.
Well, I don't think the Obama administration didn't label it Obamacare. They call it the ACA. I mean, this is the American Health Care Act. The president is proud of it. The president's proud of the fact that we're working with Congress. But this is a bill it's not his. It's a joint effort that we've worked with the House and the Senate on.
As Senator Charles Schumer pointed out today, it isn't a good sign for a bill when people don't want their name on it.
Trump wants to call it Ryan Care. Ryan wants to call it Trump Care. How good could it be if neither of them wants their name on it? President Trump has slapped his name on buildings, ties, steaks, hotels, and golf clubs, but not on a bill that he says he supports.
The bill directly contradicts numerous promises that President Trump has made, promises that helped him win the election.
I'm not going to cut Social Security like every other Republican, and I'm not going to cut Medicare or Medicaid. Every other Republican's going to cut. And even if they wouldn't, they don't know what to do because they don't know where the money is. I do.
With Trump going back on his promises to his base, the populist media outlets that backed his candidacy are rebelling against the bill, though they've found someone else to blame. Breitbart, in particular, has lashed out of the bill, which it often pointedly calls Ryan Care, saying it, quote, is all but guaranteed to impose crushing costs on voters, hurt Trump's base, and hand power back to Democrats. And that's just the headline. Last night, Breitbart published a story featuring audio of Paul Ryan in 2016 refusing to defend Trump in the wake of the Access Hollywood tape.
There are basically two things that I want to make really clear. I am not going to defend Donald Trump. Not now, not in the future. Look, you guys know I have real concerns with our nominee.
The release of that audio prompting speculation that Bannon, who used to be executive chairman of Breitbart, is attempting to kneecap Ryan and distance the White House and the president from the bill. Meanwhile, more and more congressional Republicans are outright opposing it or distancing themselves, including New Jersey Representative Leonard Lance, whose district was won by Hillary Clinton, and who came on this very show 5 days ago to defend his committee vote for the bill. Today, after the CBO scoring, Congressman Lance said he does not want to vote on the bill because he expects it to fail. And now, Andy Slavitt, former acting administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Andy, let's talk about this death spiral finding, because it's gotten less attention than I think it deserves, because in some ways, the cornerstone of the whole argument is we cannot abide the status quo because it's imploding. CBO says not true.
Well, you're absolutely right, Chris. And it's not just the CBO. Standard & Poor's came to the same conclusion last winter. So have the Society of Actuaries. So has the Independent Office of the Actuaries. So I think what the premise of an exploding market, I think really is, as you've said on your show, it's a neat justification for a big tax cut, perhaps, but it's just not true in fact.
So what do you think about the other parts of this bill? I mean, to me, this redistributional aspect is so striking. I mean, here you've got a huge tax cut, mostly to the top 1%. In some cases, I think the overwhelming majority to the 0.1%. And that's basically being taken out of Medicaid. I mean, that's essentially the exchange the bill's doing, right?
You know, that's exactly right. You think about the Medicaid program, and what this really amounts to is a 25% cut in the Medicaid program, and then a cap, so that the Medicaid program will be, in effect, a rationing program. And when you think, what does a Medicaid program do? Medicaid program does what? It takes care of kids. In fact, half the births in this country are paid for by Medicaid. 2/3 of the budget goes to take care of people with disabilities or people in long-term care facilities. That's basically us when we get older. So if you ask a governor, where are you going to cut 25% from your Medicaid budget, they'll either laugh or cry.
There's one part of the CBO score that was interesting, which is premiums, average premiums. And you do get to a point, it's bizarrely sort of structured, right? Premiums shoot up for the first 2 years, according to the CBO, and they come down, and they end up averaging 10% lower. So you saw some Republicans touting that, lower premiums. How do they get there?
Well, they get there really by making the product unaffordable for older people, and the product becomes unaffordable for older people for two reasons. One, the premiums have moved up, and second, the tax credits, as you illustrated earlier in your show, go down pretty significantly. So if older people aren't buying the product and only younger people are buying the product, well, then I guess in a matter of speaking, people are paying less for it. The problem is you've got 25 million people, 24 million people, depending on if you believe the White House numbers, it's 26 million. If you believe CBO, it's 24 million, who are no longer buying the product. So it's not much of a victory to pay less when most of the people who need the product can't afford it.
Andy Slavitt, thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.